So cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, so awesome. Hey, so we got Chris here today from Mirror World, coming in and doing an AMA with us. And Chris, I just wanted to, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about your team.
Of course. So excited to be here in the PathDAO community to share a little bit about our project. And we've been working on this project for the past 6 months or so. Before joining Mirror World and starting Mirror World, our team originally was actually working on gaming AI. So we mostly focused on two different technical aspects. One was the language perspective, where we use natural language processing with an open world and MMORPG games to make these characters or virtual NFTs more intelligent. And the other side was the behavioral side, where we use deep reinforcement learning as well as decision trees to also make these characters more lively and dynamic when you interact with these characters. So they would have their basic personalities depending on the settings that we train the algorithms with. And we can potentially give them different personalities or human behaviors based on the needs of our clients. And crypto industries actually gave us a lot of inspiration as well as requests for the technology that we developed, especially because there are limited players within the crypto gaming field. A lot of these projects actually wished for us to help them co-start a game or develop a bot that can actually interact with the users and really increase that interactivity behind the NFTs. So that's how we kind of started with the project. So every single virtual life within the Mirror World universe, which is basically a content matrix with AI-powered virtual life forms, will be interoperable across multiple games, which also ensures that every one of our holders will have the ability and freedom to enter each one of the GameFi projects. So that's essentially what Mirror World is, and we will be releasing multiple games this year with our own, intellectual property, and all the assets will be CC0 licensed as well. So we are looking to release 3 games before Q3 this year and making it a gaming matrix.
Yeah, well, I think how you're integrating the technology in, obviously, like your team has some really impressive experience, using machine learning, AI, and how you're integrating that in, from the start. Like I love I got a lot of questions. I got more questions than I know, right? I feel like the more I looked into Mirror World, like the more it sort of brought you in, right? It's like that mirror, you look into it and it just sucks you in because there's so many changing aspects of it. Can you talk, Chris, a little bit, before we go too much into Mirror World, can you talk a little bit about your background and just interest in gaming? Was there a first game when you were young that you grew up, just fell in love with?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually played tons of games when I was little. So a little bit about myself. Before joining RCTA, which it was the AI company that developed all the open world MMORPG technologies, I was a part of ByteDance, which developed TikTok. I was working on product as well as strategy investment there. And we had a lot of very interesting techniques when it came to social gaming development as well as ad channels, right? So I was there looking at entertainment as well as consumer products. And that was when I kind of fell in love with the concept of NFTs and started looking into it a while before I left the company. And it was really interesting because the first few games that I played were pretty classic games. When I was little, I played a lot of Nintendo's original Game Boy Advanced. That was like when I was little, right? And I played the Ruby version of Pokemon, and that was the first time I really fell in love and had that digital companion really develop within that gaming virtual environment. And that's also what kind of inspired us to create a lot of these narratives, as well as the worldview behind the Mirror World project. If you look at an NFT project or a GameFi project, there rarely is a project with a lot of content behind the narrative and behind the basically framework of the game. And that's what we really wanted to strive to create, was an immersive world that is interoperable with all these assets as well. So I also played a lot of PlayStation portable games when I was in middle school, and that was just huge in Asia. So Monster Hunter, capturing your fighting club, fighting friends. And I think that those are the games that I really find interesting with the digital companionship aspect as well.
Yeah, well, and it's so interesting when you look back on those. I grew up playing, the Nintendo games as well. Hey, Floppy.
Hi, Floppy.
Hey, how's it going? How's it going,
Good,
guys?
Floppy has
Good,
Floppy has
good.
2 kids, so sometimes in the morning it's a little more difficult.
Yeah. I was trying to set up a studio last minute here.
Looking nice there.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, so we were just talking, Chris sort of went into right away, like, about Mirror World and some of the, about the technology and stuff. I'm going to bring him back just like a little bit, just to somebody who's really, really new and like doesn't have a great understanding of the project. Chris, can you give them like the 30-second, like, here's what we're doing and here's like what's unique about our project?
Yeah, sure. I think in short, Mirror World is utilizing core artificial intelligence technologies to empower multiple GameFi projects within the whole the same ecosystem. So we're using the images or visuals of Mirror NFTs and making them interoperable across multiple universes. So you would be able to interact with your AI companions across every single one of the games that we provide. And altogether, it creates kind of a virtual carnival that yields crypto return for all of our players.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
So where are we? Are we
basically like? Well, so you can take like your AI like derived personality and actually impart it on your FT. Like that's correct, right, Chris?
Yeah, no, did it in a very short amount of time. The project entirely has only been 6 months, and we have multiple games in the pipeline, as well as the artificial intelligence aspects deployed on our website already. So we took a month to kind of train the algorithms and train the personalities, and we have 20 different souls online right now, and each one of the souls actually behave or talks to you a little bit differently. For example, some of them talk like Elon Musk, and the other ones like Kanye West, right? So the users actually get a very familiarity when you're talking to them because you've seen all those tweets, you've seen how they talk in real life. So they have domain-specific knowledge is what we call them. And essentially, after interacting with it for a few times or enough times, they essentially gain a higher intelligence level on our service. And we log that change on chain so that you actually have the ability or capability of paying for a little bit of gas and logging that changes on chain, so we can snapshot that change and snapshot their levels and drop you rewards within the game and increase the drop rate of different equipments when we roll out the games. So essentially, you're increasing their intelligence level, but at the same time, you also get specific rewards in game.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can you sort of walk us through the steps of like getting started? I don't know if you've touched on this yet, but like you can buy the mirrors on your website. Is that right? And then what? So you have your mirror, you've created it, it's talking with the owner. Like, can you explain more about like the first steps? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I actually wonder, it might be better for me to showcase a little bit of how the mirror works a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys want me to do that?
Yeah, that'd be great. Because what I didn't
Yeah.
understand, Chris, is that like, I see like some of the characters, right? But
Yeah.
then I also see like the mirrors. And so like, I think that was one question. It's like, okay, so how do you go from, the mirror to the characters? And like what's so unique is that like the NFT starts communicating with the owner.
Right. So let me just show my screen real quick.
Awesome.
Just give me 1 second. Let me pull out the website for everyone in the audience. So yeah, essentially, this is only a part of the entire ecosystem. You can consider this dialogue or interaction only a part of the service that we are providing. This is aside from the 3 games that we're rolling out, just to make it clear. So when you kind of go onto our website, I've already connected with my MetaMask. Essentially, what you can see is a ranking of people trying to interact with their little mirror NFTs. These are the mirror NFTs. I'm at 372 points. And you can see a lot of these, our holders are actually like all the way up to level 6. I'm still at level 1. They're probably in the audience. I'm sure Click is in the audience. We have a lot of other holders as well.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that they have been interacting on an emotional level with their mirrors on a daily basis. So how it works essentially, let me just show it to you on this. So I have a mirror here. I've talked to it for a couple of times. For example, in the chat history, you can see here, do you like crypto or music? I love both. And I started playing around with Bitcoin about 2 years ago. I'm a music producer by trade and a hacker by design. So I originally started with audio engineering, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that they have very specific knowledges about certain types of information. And our experience points are actually logged here. So you can actually talk to it enough times to level this up. Let me just try something. Hey guys, I am talking to a really wonderful group of people. Would you like to join us on a trip? Let's say I just talk to with a random subject, right?
Yeah.
And depending on the pretty philosophical sometimes as well. I think
And now, Chris, like on the NFT itself, like does the NFT develop like as the answers, like as the interaction is made?
Yeah, actually, so the NFTs actually don't store any of the answers that you give them.
Okay.
Of course, this is in your private database that we host.
So the design of the NFT is released upon purchase.
Exactly. And the design of the NFT as well as the soul that you're talking to. So like the domain that, this particular NFT is really familiar with, we actually have that on OpenSea. Let me just, showcase it to you onto the OpenSea page where you have some of the traits for the mirrors. Or actually, if you go to our market, so if I share this, share one of these, right? Like we have a lot of these little guys.
Yeah.
And this one was a Coinbase shirt. This is probably a Brian Armstrong soul. We really wanted to, in there. And this is a Rick and Morty, as you can see. So like they talk like Rick and Morty's. Like if you see some of these, this is a Drake. These whole suits, Mark Cuban, Warren Buffett. So they essentially have a, if you read it backwards, it's Rick and Morty, right? And that's what we call a mirrored NFT. So those are the little, little details we put into the storytelling behind the world, but that's just part of the whole story. Essentially, what we're creating is every single one of these data pieces kind of grouped together to create a mirror NFT, which is trying to escape the Web2 prison because they are silo databases and they devour data from these databases, and they're trying to get to a more free and decentralized world, which is Web3. So that's the whole story, and then that's why the mirror shards are all fragmented, and they're trying to escape the prisms as well. So that's kind of how we envision the storyline to be structured. And within the games, you'll realize that there will be a very, very rich storytelling at the back end as well.
Yeah, I love it. I love the voices too.
Yeah. They're pretty, humorous. And when you talk to some of the aggressive ones, they give you a hard time.
That's pretty awesome. And like, so can you go into a little bit like about like the soul, like, because there's the mirrors, right? But like the soul is what you interact with, correct?
Right.
Or the soul is what your mirror interacts with.
So essentially, the soul is one layer of our NFT. For mirrors, they have their own souls, right? But if you're just purchasing let's say a Doodle or a Bored Ape or a CryptoPunk, essentially they're static images that represent your digital identity. However, I think for a lot of people who've purchased a lot of assets, that your digital identity can only stay on one profile picture. Let's say the Bored Apes, the Bored Ape holders will probably be purchasing more NFTs as well. But some of those NFTs they're not going to use as their profile picture. So actually, that creates kind of this incentive for a lot of their users to find more utility values for some of their assets. And we've opened up, the capability to interact with some of the NFTs actually by combining a soul NFT to a Bored Ape. Then you can directly interact with your existing asset. And that essentially is a way for us to bridge our community and ecosystem with some of the blue chip communities. So there are over 1,400 soul chips claimed by these blue chip holders if you go on to OpenSea. Yeah, so a lot of people have been, sharing pictures of them talking to their Bored Ape or CryptoPunk. It might just be, a very short amount of time where they interact with it, but by leveling with the soul, you essentially also gain access to our ecosystem in the future when you use the souls to enter the games.
So if you have, for example, like a CryptoPunk, right? Like you can purchase the soul and then you're going into the same platform that we just saw and interacting, but instead of, your mirror world character there, that would be where your CryptoPunk would be.
Exactly. So you have like a binding phase where you try to bind the two NFTs, and then then our page will essentially showcase it to you. So like the communities that we've allowed to claim so far, the Punks, Doodles, Mask, MaoDao, Cool Cats, BAYC, AOZ, Voxel, XLD.
Just a few of the small projects.
Just a few of the smaller ones,
No, but Chris, that in itself is such a huge accomplishment, getting the partnerships with those brands. I mean, it really shows, I think, the uniqueness and, value in what you're creating.
So I wanted to clarify a little bit here. Not every single one of these are official partnerships because they are, CC0, partnerships. So something like Doodle, there are, I think, well above the double digits, like let's say 50, 40 Doodle holders that have already claimed a soul in our website. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we've officially partnered with Doodles, right? Yeah. But something like, Voxel, XLD, AOZ, the partnered projects that we actually like co-created together, like they were pretty early on as well. We started when they are relatively small as well. So some of them are community driven, some of them are official, partnerships. I think in Web3, that's one of the coolest things about these projects is that, you get to connect them with your community, and their community is really willing to help you out as well. And that's how we kind of like envision this.
Well, it's cool, right? Because you have one Doodle is talking to other people in the group and sharing the project with them, and then you see it grow organically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do these projects need to sign off on this, or can you attach a soul to any NFT that you own? Like, you need to partner with them in order for the operability to work. Yeah.
So we have to whitelist them, and actually a lot of projects approach us to be whitelisted. All we have to do is whitelist the projects, and then we look at the engagement in the community. The community is something that we really care about. Like, let's say you have an active community that are very willing to help us and talk to us about artificial intelligence, discuss GameFi with us. Then of course we're happy to whitelist the entire community. But if there are a lot of fake data on the social media, then we might be a little bit cautious with that.
Right.
Yeah, we all know about those.
Yeah, for sure.
I just think it's so cool, like, the cross IP stuff, and like, can you just tell us more about like the metaverse that you're creating? It's not you have some steps here. You're not just you're not just doing one thing. So, can you delve a little bit more into that?
Of course. So essentially, what we want to create is an interoperable universe where there are multiple games for the mirrors themselves. So the mirrors will be the main character going through each one of the games that we will be rolling out. So why we started doing that, I wanted to clarify a little bit, was because when we look at the GameFi field right now, when we look at a lot of these games, we look at traditional gaming where a single studio might be rolling out with 10 different games per year, right? Let's say you are a large studio working on games. You're not just hosting one single game at a time. Because the success rate of these games that you roll out are essentially, you have to factor in user growth, distribution, Web2, advertisement, as well as publishing, all those stuff. And in Web3 gaming, you also have to factor out tokenomics, economic cycle stuff like that. So how we envisioned this was that in order to actually lower the risk of a centralized game crashing because of all those factors that I just talked about, you can actually kind of prolong the product cycle by creating multiple games and actually using a set of assets that are interoperable, which actually hosts the underlying value of NFTs, the ownership perspective of it. And meanwhile, also allowing your community to maintain this aspect of activeness, and they're hoping for more and more games to roll out while also increasing the value of your assets. Because let's say we look at something like Mario, I use this Nintendo example a lot. They're holding the asset value of something like Nintendo, the commercialization value as well. But in Web3, you can essentially incentivize your users and your content creators to create games around your characters, and you can use your token to incentivize that, and you can create an ecosystem around that, which I think is very interesting, because when you have thousands of people creating games and content around your IP, that's when your entire ecosystem or content system will just boom, right? So the metaverse that we are trying to create essentially is going to be multiple content platforms, hosted by the same economic system. And I think that's basically what that is.
And so you're going to release like a set of 3 or 4 games initially. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Sure, exactly. So this year alone, we are thinking about rolling out at least 3, but maybe 4 games just this year. And the first 2 games will be a little bit lighter on the design side, but they will be very easily available to all the players, all the guild members that we push to. So we've actually established partnerships with some of the biggest guilds in the crypto gaming world, such as yourselves as well. So what we kind of envision is that the first game will be an ARPG, like vertical ARPG game on your mobile phone, and it'll be Android and iOS native. So it'll be very easy for you to play. I don't know if you guys played.
Yeah, that'll excite our gamers.
Yeah. So I think I look at like some hack and slash games like those, right, where you can just like beat monsters and then go through like different levels really easily. But at the same time, there are ranking ladders, and there are different combinations of skills that you can play and level up your characters within the system. So that's the first game that we'll be rolling out. The second game is going to be a PvP arena where you're just simply I don't know if you guys seen videos of Party Animal, but Party Animal is kind of like throwing your opponent off a platform, right? It's kind of like where Nintendo has players. Essentially, the easier way is for you to just bump into each other and push each other off. And that can also be done on an Android phone as well. So that will actually excite a lot of players, I think, for sure. So the first game is more tailored towards like players who want to have an easier experience, and the second one is for players who want to have some fun and maybe gamble it out or like battle it out a little bit. So those are the 2 types of games that we'll be rolling out at first. And then the third game that we'll be rolling out is similar to something like Clash of Clans, where you have a tower builder system. You have different guild battles, and there's a social aspect of this construction of your main city. But at the same time, it also represents that your character has a homeland, and your character has a map editor system, where that will be a very valuable asset for the games that we roll out later on. Essentially, you have a map of how the mirrors will be living. And I think that's actually might be more important than the game itself, because we want to create this worldview where people can see, hey, like this is where the mirrors live. This is the data-centric world. And that's what we spent a lot of time kind of creating as well.
Well, no, Chris, I love the vision, and like, obviously, like the team, like they review, it's like 20 or 30 projects like a week, and like a lot of the projects I know that they see, it's maybe a creative game idea, or, but the NFTs are a lot of times like an afterthought, maybe like an add-on. And it's so cool, like hear your philosophy and how, like, you've brought in all these technologies, like, to work together so that like the NFTs are actually interacting like with their holders. Something I keep hearing you talking about, which is like real refreshing, is like fun. You keep talking about fun. Can you talk a little bit about like, this play to earn model, and how, like, really it's clear from the start that you've adjusted your project to really be, to include that fun, to be something that people aren't just playing to earn, but playing and engaging with, having a good time. Can you expand a little bit on that, Chris, and talk about the fun element and how that really is at the core of your project?
Yeah. So first of all, I think play to earn and fun are not necessarily mutually exclusive. When we look at something like Axie Infinity, for a fact, I know that a lot of scholars actually enjoy that game, right? Like I know for a fact that a lot of people love that ecosystem. Although quite recently, the economics have its own issues, and I won't deny that. But from a card game perspective, it's strategy, the depth of the strategy, and the depth of the how they calculate the numbers is very, very sophisticated. And I think that's valid. That stays valid for a fun game. And that actually explains some of the reasons why Axie gained a lot of traffic in the beginning, like last year's March all the way till October, I believe. So I think comparing that game to something that was already in the space in 2017, when we looked at the boom of EOS, the boom of Ethereum gaming back then, 95% of the traffic came from gambling games. Gambling is also fun, right? For a pure chance driven probability game. There are fun within that as well, but that's also a lot of economics calculations behind the scene. So I think when we looked at the entire landscape, we didn't really just like think about how play to earn will be. We didn't really think about how gaming itself would be. We combined all those things and really wanted to create a sustainable ecosystem, because we know that tokenomics change every 3 months or so within this space, or even within less time, right? So we wanted our product to be shipping within a 3 months time horizon, 6 month, 9 month, 12 month. And it just came naturally that NFT as the first batch of sales, gathering a natural crypto community around that NFT became very natural for us as well. And then at 3 month time, we decided to roll out some of the ideology behind our gaming matrix. And then in 6 months time, which is going to be in June, then we have the 2 games ready. And then in 9 months time, we have the first heavier game of the SLG ready to launch to the community. So I just think that when you're trying to create a sustainable project, there should be modules of your product that you're shipping every other month or so. And then we just broke it down like that. So it's not like we envision everything from the start, but we really modularize a bigger picture and then created different products around those modules.
Well, that's something that makes a lot of sense. Like, Floppy and I, like yesterday when we were looking at a lot of stuff, we're like, hey, should we get one of these? Like, like we got to understand more about the mirrors, right? And Floppy, I don't know about you, but like now after seeing, like having Chris really walk us through it and more, like it's such a cool concept,
Yeah.
That's part of it, right, Chris? Is like getting people to come on board as you guys are releasing these different modules,
exactly.
And building it up.
I think that's also a benefit of having a gaming matrix, is that you actually cater to different demographics of people. Like you, Johnson and Floppy, you obviously are very interested in the AI perspective when you guys kind of asked me to pull out what the interactions would be. But that actually is not true for every single one of them. So like some of our users are only interested in gameplay. Some of our users are only interested in economic models. And I think, you know, as a crypto project, you have to cater to all those different target demographics. And you know, you releasing so like us releasing a AI component of that NFT within the first 35 days of our project actually attracted over 13,000 people to our Discord channel. But without, you know, all those modules following up, you actually lose a large part of them after the initial sale. But you know, some of them actually stayed to become the most, you know, active members of our community, and I think that just gives me so much joy and, you know, so much excitement, because you're growing the community as well as the product with these guys that stay. So I think, you know, as a gaming matrix, you actually have different types of games, ARPG, strategy games, card games that attract different gaming players from traditional, you know, distribution channels. And I think those channels actually might create bigger value for your project, because, you know, gamers actually spend a lot of money when they are having fun. And I think that's where your income or money in is essentially, you know, going to have to rely on in the long run, is when people enjoy your content and they pay for it.
Well, your artwork is really cool too. I know that that's like, you know, Floppy, you want to ask a little bit more about the artwork?
Yeah, we were curious, like where you
right away.
Where you got your inspiration from, and maybe tell us a little bit about the design team behind the artwork. Yeah.
Of course. I think when you guys look at our work, you probably got a little bit of, you know, Rick and Morty feel, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm huge fans of the shows like Futurama, Rick and Morty. You know, I was just watching that yesterday as well. So I think our inspiration came from those shows a lot, because we wanted to be interoperable universes, and that was the first place that we like went to look to. Every single person within our team is a huge fan of Rick and Morty. And so that's an inspiration for sure. But at the same time, we wanted to create a little bit more, you know, more organic feel of the data world than something Rick kind of represented, because that was more of a American cartoon, like 2D animation kind of world, where it's more fantasy than, you know, it's more intergalactic traveling than data driven. Right. So we also look to inspiration from something like Digimon. So when you're looking at that acceleration motion within our, you know, trailer, that's, you know, a little bit of inspiration from Digimon, and then Digital Monster. So we also took inspiration from something like the Matrix, where zeros and ones really represent your, you know, binary numbers, and then that's how the world itself is constituted. The artwork behind our team is all done by our in-house designers, and they're not very active on Twitter, and that was also a big problem for us when we started the project, because you really want validation behind, you know, the team that's making all this stuff, and we wanted to get them out there, but they just stayed low key. But some of our, you know, guys that are creating
quality stuff, man. You know,
thanks. Takes a long time to kind of find these style of artists within you know, Asia, because the style itself comes from the Western culture. And when we were looking at Adult Swim's data, when we were like kind of envisioning what the games would be, right? It's very interesting, because you see that of course America really enjoys this type of visual, but it has, you know, been viral. Rick and Morty and Futurama and those shows has been viral across Asia, across South America, and those are the places where actually our scholars are, you know, most distributed. So it just came very naturally that even though this is a pretty, you know, not a majority kind of gaming visual, it has a huge audience as well. So that's what makes a lot of our audiences across the globe really interested in the project as well.
It's cool how shows like that, you know, it's also games, they connect, you know, communities and cultures, you know, around the world.
Exactly. And I think that's one thing that I really love about Web3, is that the fact that everything is so interconnected. And we always say that, you know, it's a blue ocean because the growth is so fast and there's no, you know, meaningless competition. If you go into like the dating apps debate space, or if you go into SaaS space, like everything's been done, and we're like, what are you doing here? But in crypto, I think there are so many new things, especially revolving content, right? Like for the past couple of years, there are a lot of protocols, there are a lot of decentralization going on with DeFi. But when we are looking at gaming, and we were looking at new content production mechanisms, those actually require a really good community and really good teams to lead the way and kind of like gather all these community members, co-create this world. And I think that's very exciting for us as well.
Yeah, well, a lot of what you're doing is really about engaging, obviously, the holder, right? And then building that community. And then, like, beyond even that, it's not a closed community, right? It's something that's like trying to welcome, others in, and then, use your technology, use your unique aspects. Like, I think that's just so cool to be able to put the soul, with the different NFT collections.
Thanks.
Well, yeah, we'll help you try to grow the number in terms of some of those other collections.
Yeah, for sure. I think those are actually really good ways for us to like easily communicate with other projects, because like they can literally directly see what the actual tech is like. And shout out to some of the projects that we really took inspiration from. Something like Galaxy Fight Club, where they like hosts BioPill. They look at Azimi, and all these projects to kind of integrate it into their gameplay. Something like Crypto Radar, which we took a lot of inspiration from when they're kind of creating their adoption method, and they're building on top of Loot with their first generation asset, second generation asset. I just think that it's such innovative mechanisms within the field, because there are no standards yet. So really happy to connect with any project that really comes to us and say, hey, like we want the tech that you guys are providing.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had Galaxy Fight Club on a while ago, and
oh, really?
Yeah, and what they're doing with the cross IP stuff, it's the future. Because you touched on it earlier, Chris, is that a lot of these projects they're closed in the sense, right, that like the users, the gamers need to enter their world, and then there's beyond that, there's not a lot of utility or availability, right? And so like like the whole concept of like the Galaxy Fight Club, and also with Mirror World, is really to like embrace and engage these other NFT collections, which aren't just NFT collections, they're communities. So
Exactly.
that's what's so cool, is that it's about like bringing people together. You talked a little bit, or you talked earlier about roadmaps, right? About 4 months and stuff. But can you just like briefly at the end here, we do have a couple questions I would like to ask.
Sure.
But Chris, can you maybe just run down some bullet points of like, okay, here's some important dates on our roadmap that are coming up, so that people that are listening can hear?
Sure. Actually, I might just showcase the roadmap within our community.
Cool.
We started the project, like I said, Q4 of 2021. So we developed the mirror NFTs, the SO chips, having started the conversion with all these communities. And then we developed all in-game 3D models. So we sold 2D assets, but we developed, the initial 11,000 3D models that will be dropping in game, as well as, we will be launching our second batch of assets later on as well. So we joined a lot of the blockchain gaming communities to kind of learn from the best of the projects, right? So in Q1, we actually closed our, $4 million round from led by Galaxy Interactive, Republic Crypto, as well as Alameda Research, and of course PathDAO, Avocado by GGC, and all these amazing gaming guilds was in our round as well. And then we actually demoed our ARPG vertical game, and then iterated our UI a couple of times. Actually, there was like a scratched version of our horizontal game within the Discord channel somewhere. Game concept film, ARPG demo, mobile demo, and we started an internal alpha for the ARPG game as well. And then I think in 2022, some of the larger milestones that we will have. Our community did decide to cross-chain to Solana. So we'll be deploying our game on Solana ecosystem. But we will be multi-chain, in the long run. It's just that we have milestones to hit right now. So Q2, we'll be releasing our marketplace, our rental system, as well as updating our official website with a very, very cool, gaming visual. And we'll be alpha testing and beta testing both of those games. And I think one very interesting milestone that is not on here is the start of our second generation of assets. So we are designing the tokenomics with Republic Crypto right now with their advisory team. And for the second batch of assets, we're actually talking to a lot of gaming IGO platforms. Some of them I won't name names, but I think will bring us a lot of traffic to the community, as well as getting the right people to join our products, to our project. And then, one other thing that we are doing a little bit differently from other gaming platforms or gaming projects is that we are consolidating a development system based on Coco's Creator. So Coco's Creator is one of the largest 2D creating platforms, right? It started from Asia. But what's really interesting about that is Web3 gaming actually has a huge disadvantage in terms of distribution channels, because you get limited distribution from Apple Store, from Google Play, and you actually get restricted from something like Steam or Epic Store as well, right? And if you can't go on Steam, then you're doomed as a computer game. But what's really interesting is that the WebGL bottom line rendering, on the back end of these browsers, can actually host really strong visuals for multiplayer online games now. Something like Mini Royale is a really good example, but they're not using the same system. So we actually, thought about that and decided to create our own system that integrates with your wallet directly, right? Like if you just go onto the browser and play your game, your wallet experience is seamless. Your extensions are seamless. Your, rendering is seamless. And that actually hosts our, virtual society and virtual characters and AI as well within the front end service. So once we have that framework, we will be rolling out games with like rapid fire speed. It will just be a lot quicker for us to roll out. It will be HTML5 prioritized, and there will be multiple APKs available on Android and iOS at the same time, because that system just allows you to have multiple packs at the same time. But essentially, we will be able to distribute within our own Discord channel, within our own Twitter links, right? And I think that's very important at the early days of this ecosystem, when the gaming distribution platforms do not have traffic yet, right?
Yeah, because that's going to change.
Will you need a mirror to play these games, or can you just play with any NFT that you have that's interoperable?
Right. So regarding that question, I think we will test and also beta the game when for the mirror holders first, because you will be able to get a staging token even when you're testing. Something like The Horizon actually does that, where you go into their ranks and then you try to get like the earlier airdrops. It's like a delayed airdrop system, right? So I think that's a clever way for your community to also engage with your game and give you good feedbacks. So at first, I think that's also a privilege for your community members to gain the earlier tokens. And then once your game is a little bit more mature, I also think that we should open it up to the traditional Web2 gamers, right? Just having it on, like blasted out on Google Play, on Facebook, fan mobs, on Facebook ads. Then if we prioritize fun, like I said, and if the game is fun enough, then you would have traffic from that world as well. And bridging the two wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So to answer your question, free to play later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not going to be like a limited number of mirrors. Like anybody can mint a mirror, or is there like a certain number of mirrors in the collection and then like how will you onboard more folks to actually attain their own mirror?
Right. So we actually want to kind of create the pace that we launch our assets, not just have a unlimited breeding mechanism where in the short run you might get like millions of assets, but that actually might harm the economics a little bit. And what do you do with like the remaining of them? Do you burn them all? Do you buy them back? It's a very difficult choice. So right now we actually just dropped our Genesis collection in October, and that was sold out to both gaming guilds as well as our collectors, right? So you can only purchase them on OpenSea.
Mhm.
But once we cross to Solana, which will happen probably in April, then we will be dropping a second batch of assets which have a richer backstory. There are different factions that actually cater to the DAO structure that we'll have later on as well. Because when you're looking at a good game, right, you want the characters themselves to have a power balance. So one defense type, one shooter type, one attack type. And in Pokemon's terms, it will be fire, grass, and water. So we wanted to create that kind of power structure and power balance as well within the worldview. The data creatures actually have their own backstory, and then the second batch of assets will have mecha types, wizard types, mage types, as well as kind of a data-driven, sci-fi type, right? And they look pretty cool. They're still like Rick and Morty feels.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Rick and Morty, obviously. I mean, I think most people are around the world. So,
yeah, Chris, I'm looking at some of the questions here. We got a lot of Rick and Morty.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people saying the same thing.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Rick and Morty quote?
That's a good question.
Without saying anything obscene, I suppose.
That's hard, man. That's really difficult.
That's the hardest question there is.
Hey, I know you mentioned about bridging to Solana. We actually just created or in the process of creating a bridge to Polygon. Path is an ERC20 token as well. One person was asking, if the mirrors are already implemented, can we upgrade the mirrors in a cheaper gas fee?
Right. So yes. So the answer to that is once the mirrors will cross chain to Solana, it will actually lower the gas fee because the aspect of the previous on chain part is not going to be. It will probably maintain our centralized database now that we cross chain to Solana, just because the technical difficulties is really insane to figure out. But the people that have already upgraded their mirrors on the Ethereum chain will essentially just get higher rewards. So we will brute force that reward system. And I think it's also fair for all the user experiences later on to after we do deploy on Solana, then there are a lot of issues that we can avoid and not having to pay such high gas prices. But we'll definitely reward the users accordingly because I see all those level 6s and I just respect that a lot.
Yeah. Okay, another question we got is about we got some questions about weapons. Weapons and other equipment, can they be customized and upgradable, or only those mirror NFTs?
So the weapons, I think, So the weapons will be upgradable. The weapons also have their own rarities. We will not allow all weapons to be, minted as NFTs because you don't want to oversupply of the top level weapons. So for the highest rarity weapons, the users will have the ability to mint them onto the chain. So let's say you get a drop from one of the dungeons that you break, and then you get a drop of like 4-star or 5-star weapon. Then you have the choice to mint it as an NFT, put it onto the open market. And we will see, some of the events that we host, as well as the internal alphas, will lead to an initial supply of these weapons as well. Similar to how, in live ops, we drop some of the mystery weapons that are stronger to the initial supporters of our project.
This is another good question. It's just, it's an honest question. What do you think are your biggest challenges right now, and how do you plan to solve them to navigate them?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest challenges is not just a challenge to ourselves, but a challenge to the entire gaming ecosystem. Like I said, Web3 gaming ecosystem is relatively, not so mature when it comes to all the infrastructure, as well as the gaming platforms, distribution platforms, wallet systems, all those, underlying, I guess, components of what a gamer's experience would be, right? And I think it just takes a lot of time for all those pieces to fall into place. For example, a Solana distribution platform just for Solana games would also have to be in place before the growth for these games are really natural as well. So I think that question is to be solved by all of our community members, as well as different chains together, to have a better ecosystem for gaming experiences. So I think to solve that question, we are taking some approaches that are different. For example, I mentioned the HTML5, distributing it within our own community. I think Step N actually does a pretty good job with their growth strategy within the Discord, right? They have a bot that kind of greets you and tells you how to download their app, stuff like that. And there are a lot of little details that we are considering right now for the growth to be organic, and for our community to engage with us within that whole process.
We got a bunch of questions coming in now. We've talked about this, Chris, a little bit before, but basically people are asking about the minting of the NFTs, right? Like how essentially you keep, as the demand goes down for the NFTs, like the floor price goes down. I don't know if that's necessarily true though, because you were talking about all of the the games and the different projects that you're releasing. Do you want to expand on that though a little bit? That was a question that somebody was asking. What solutions you have, as the floor price decreases, how this I guess hinders your project.
Yeah, so I actually don't think floor price at this current stage is that big of a deal for our projects. The reason being, so first of all, we want your NFT assets to relatively maintain its value, and maintain, a low volatility, because our thesis is that multiple games will actually hold your value for the project, because people will see that there's more economic value coming in and there's more content coming in that might offer you, a higher ROI when you're launching a new game, stuff like that. But at the same time, I also want to mention that we are a GameFi project at its core. So within the GameFi ecosystem, within our whole platform, there will be a platform token, right? Essentially, that will be the core asset that is carrying the value of our ecosystem. And by holding an NFT, you might be able to, stake your NFT for rewards. You might be able to hold your NFT and receive different rewards. I'm not going to promise anything, but if you just play the games, you'll be able to also earn those tokens as well. So I think our token essentially is a way to incentivize content creation. Like I said, when people are creating more games and more content, we'll be paying them with our token. But at the same time, our token is also a way to incentivize content consumption. So if you're using the game, using our product, and utilizing that, then we will be awarding you with that core asset as well. So you can also vote, you can also propose with the same token. So I think to answer that question, floor price is not the only thing you should be caring about, but at the same time, we also want more people to join in. So if you just drag the floor price to 10 Ethereum, I don't think anyone's going to play the game. That's just like a very sad truth. But there's a give or take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you and your team have obviously seen and experienced. You answered really one of the other questions, which was about the token, right? And like, yeah, you guys are adding so much. You've seen so many other games, be launched, and been involved in these projects, that now you have an idea, how to implement, on your side. Floppy, exactly. I know you always like to ask the alpha question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we always kind of wrap up with any like alpha that is very exciting for our community to find out, that maybe you have not mentioned before, or
right. Yeah. So actually, there's one that I think is a really cool idea. So you guys like Terra, right? Like you guys love, Terra.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a project that is doing similar, algorithmic stable coin, but in Southeast Asia. And there was a really big issue with doing that in Southeast Asia before, because you have to bypass all the regulations and you have to bypass the geographic differences. But there's a very strong team called XLD Finance that we are pretty close with. So they are actually doing a similar stuff for the Southeast Asia region, and you can pay your utility bill with their stablecoin, which actually hosts a set of synthetic assets, including SLP, including something like Pegasus, the original coin. So basically, you can have all these GameFi coins, and as well as USDT, stuff like that, put into the synthetic pool, and then you will get their coin in return, and then you can pay your utility bill subsequently. And right now it's just, I think right now it's like telephone bills, and then they'll go into utility, they'll go into more payment structures. And the team actually comes from like payment apps before actually going to Web3. So I just think that having that scenario for consumption, whether for Mirror World or for SLP or for other tokens, is just a very, very big value add, but also for the scholars as well as for the projects.
One question that somebody had asked, I'd seen it come up twice, was just around like security, right, and digital privacy and everything. Can you talk just to touch a little bit on like any countermeasures that you're taking in dealing with like privacy and security?
Yeah. So let's answer the security part first. Our team actually comes from a background of doing like anti-cheat bots for CS:GO when we were like doing like the games in Asia. So we actually look at a lot of the traditional mature mechanisms to counter those cheating mechanisms within the gaming field. There are relatively fewer security concerns that we have. It's just like on the contract level, there are a lot of security measures that we take. We're partnering with audit firms that will go through all of our contracts, the basics. We're talking to Certique, talking to a bunch of other firms. So that shouldn't be that much of a problem on our end because our engineers are world class. On the other hand, I think for privacy issues, that's something that the AI bots that we hosted also had attracted a little bit of concern. But I think essentially we're not storing any of the user data long term, and we were erasing it once you transfer your assets or you sell your assets. I think the algorithms are generative so that we don't actually use your too much of your sensitive data, and there's also a filter around it. Right.
Cool. Chris, I think just before we let you go, I really appreciate you giving us so much of your time and stuff. I know you also had another AMA today, so I know you've been probably repeating a bunch, but yeah, it's been really informative.
Yeah, no worries.
Just before you go, like, can you tell us a little bit about like what the partnership between Path and Mirror World means to you guys? We got a pretty strong response when we released the partnership article the other day. I know after more people like watch this video, it's going to be even stronger. Floppy and I, we got to get our mirrors after this, and we'll also help spread the news. But yeah, can you just talk about like what the partnership means to you?
Right, for sure. So I think PathDAO is one of the most energetic and young teams that I've met in the space. And when I was talking to the co-founders, and when I was doing a lot of these conversations, I think for us, Path actually gave us great insights into how the ecosystem works within Web3 gaming, as well as linking us to different projects that we haven't really seen before. And their introduction to gaming guilds as well as projects have been immensely helpful. So I think Path is one of the crucial partners that we'll have on this route forward. Before we even launched the project, there were a lot of benefits for the project already. So yeah, I think it was really a pleasure to work with you guys as well as with the entire team across the globe.
And anybody who's listening now from the Path community, like definitely follow Mirror World. There were a couple questions that we weren't able to answer tonight or this morning, just because we have to let Chris go here. But
yeah,
definitely hop in their socials. Chris was obviously a great guest to have on tonight, and so any questions that you guys have for them, like definitely post in their socials or post it up in our socials, and we'll try to get the answers for you guys. But
right. Thanks, Johnson. And I guess one last remark was that the favorite line from Rick and Morty was "wubba lub wubba dub." Oh man, I always get it wrong. Damn.
Yeah.
That's always the best line. All right. Or
I
just turn myself into a pickle. Yeah, that's also
good.
good.
Pickle Rick, great one.
All right.
Well, hey, yeah,
Yeah,
we'd
great.
love to have you back on too at some point further down
Sure,
the
let me
roadmap.
know.
Yeah, see how this
Yeah,
is
Floppy,
progressing.
we got to get our mirrors, and we'll develop them a little
Yeah.
bit. Then we're going to circle back with Chris.
Yes, it's very
All
interesting. I was looking at the mirrors on the marketplace yesterday. I was like, I need to know a little more about this, because it's like you read it, and the more you read, the more you're like, what is going on? So it's good to talk to. It's good
All
to
right,
talk to
let's
you about. Yeah.
Let's play that trailer again. So let's try to finish it off here. Chris, appreciate your time again, but
Yeah, thank you.
Let's try to play that trailer so that anyone who didn't catch that at the beginning can
Likewise. Have a great morning, Floppy. Have fun with your kids, and then I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Cheers.
See.
Huh?